So I survived my first week of endurance cycling training, but it was a hot mess. Hi everyone, my name is Mima. A year ago I was obese. I lost all the weight through a GLP-1 medication, weightlifting, and a whole foods diet, and now I am taking on endurance cycling. As it is the weekend, we can now put a check mark on cycling training week 1.
Woo! Woo!
Just to recap, I've integrated an endurance cycling training plan to my already pretty full weightlifting training plan that I do 5 times a week. I've replaced 1 day of weightlifting with cycling training and added an extra training day just for cycling. So now I am actually training 6 times a week instead of my usual 5. 4 of which are weightlifting days and 2 of which are cycling days. Week 1 was slightly different though because I wanted to test out my Training Road app, which is the app that I've subscribed to actually help me with my cycling training plan. And the app actually starts you off with a ramped test, which basically, I guess, like tests your power, tests your endurance, tests how far and how much you can go. Look, this is already the start of you guys seeing how unprepared I was for the rest of the week because I actually did not do as good of a research as I should have done with this app. So my plan was to do the ramp test on a Monday right before a weightlifting session because it was only 25 minutes long and I felt like I could handle that for the first day of the week. I was pretty excited actually. I woke up slightly earlier just so I could get my morning walk with Katsu, my corgi, started. We walk about 2 miles every morning starting at around 5:45, and that day we were out the door at 5:30 to accommodate my extra 25 minutes at home before my weightlifting session. I got back, got on the bike, was ready to crank up Trainer Road when I realized that I actually needed a heart monitor connected that the app could read. And my Garmin watch, I have a Venu 3S, would not connect. The Trainer Road app would not recognize it as a heart monitor. So that was already one mess up for this week's training plan. But I still did the ramp test. And it was hard as hell. It was only 25 minutes, but because you had to keep cranking up the power on your pedals, it was really tough for someone who had not been on a bike for a very, very long time. The app did emphasize that this ramp test was a test for failure, so you could stop any time that you felt like you couldn't do it anymore, and they would integrate that into their assessment. But I was pretty stubborn. I wanted to finish the 25 minutes, but at some point in, I don't know, the 19th or the 20th mark, I just could not keep cranking up the elevation on my bike. Hi folks, Mima from the editing room here. Now that I've done a lot more research on the Trainer Road app, I know now that increasing resistance really doesn't matter as much because the primary goal of the Trainer Road app is to make you faster. So I was basically giving myself hell for increasing my resistance while maintaining cadence every time the app asked me to increase power. I know better now, thankfully, and that's not gonna happen again. Apparently, there is a limit to my delusion and my insanity in this training. But despite how tired I was after that ramp test, I was still able to complete my weightlifting training plan for that day, so that was good. I did buy a heart monitor right after that ride because it did seem like it was important to actually make the training app work for you. So I just bought the cheapest Garmin one that I could find. My next training day was Wednesday, and this is really where things got messy and clearly showed how unprepared I was for this week. So Wednesday comes, I start off my morning with my 2-mile walk with Katsu. We get home, I have a small pre-workout meal. I get ready with my heart monitor, with my shoes. I set up my iPad on my bike, load up the Trainer Road app, get on the bike, choose that day's training plan, start pedaling, and then the app says it can't play because I don't have a power meter. Boo! And I'm like, what the f is a power meter? I keep pedaling, I keep trying, it still won't start the actual training plan. So I sit down for, I don't know how long I sat on the bike and started Googling and figuring this out. Googling what power meters were, realizing how expensive they were, and I was like, no thank you, at least not for now. Getting increasingly frustrated by the minute because I want to actually start riding this darn bike. And move forward with my training plan. After some Googling, reading some Reddit threads, I find out that I can actually opt for the much cheaper cadence sensor to make my Trainer Road app work and start my training plan. So I drive to the nearest REI that has an available Garmin cadence sensor in stock because I would not be stopped from getting on that bike and starting with my training plan. I bought the cadence sensor, I got home, already feeling a little bit tired from my unpreparedness essentially, but I installed a cadence sensor no problem, connected it to my Trainer Road app. That went off without a hitch, thankfully, because I would have probably thrown a fit if it did not connect or if I had any issues connecting the cadence sensor. And then finally, the Trainer Road app loaded the training plan for that day and I started cycling.
Yay!
But I also forgot to record.
Aww.
So you won't be seeing any B-roll of me cycling that plan, but it was exhausting. Yeah, I was pretty much done for after that one. I also don't know why I did this, but I basically did not have anything on, no music whatsoever, just my iPad in front of me, and I think that made things even harder. But I was very, very proud of myself for having actually gotten on that bike and not let this whole thing of being unprepared stop me from pressing play or getting the app to press play and actually finish that day's cycling training plan. I continued weightlifting throughout the week, which was actually great recovery for Wednesday's ordeal, I should say. And then Saturday comes, which is another cycling only training day. But of course, we started with a 2-mile walk with Katsu, which she enjoyed greatly. My Machines for Freedom padded bike shorts also came the day before, so I was able to try them on the ride for that day. Big shout out to the Lady Cyclist subreddit, where I found a link to a bike shop in California that sells Machines for Freedom gear for like very cheap. I think these bike shorts were originally $170 and I got them for $15, so I grabbed 3. Thankfully, Saturday's training plan went a lot more smoothly than Wednesday's did.
Woohoo!
And I actually was more in touch with my body than Wednesday was, because Wednesday I was just so frustrated with the entire thing that I just wanted to get through that day's training plan. But Saturday's training plan, I actually paid so much more attention to my body. And of course, things aren't perfect. The padded bike shorts really helped, because after Wednesday, my butt was very sore. I think everyone knows that indoor cycling bikes are really notorious for having incredibly uncomfortable saddles. We have a very old one, so I don't think it's ergonomically advanced or whatever. So the padded bike shorts, really great help. It helped me stay on the saddle for much longer than I was on Wednesday. I was still starting to get to know my upper body and how I should position, getting the right posture. There were times when I was really uncomfortable, and there were times when my right arm started to feel like it was going to sleep. So I would constantly do adjustments. So I know that I still have a long way to go with actually getting comfortable on the bike, getting the right biking position for myself, and I need to do a lot of research on how to do that. I did get a very good tip from my brother, who I mentioned in my first video is an avid cyclist and lives in Canada. Basically, he said to use your core to carry your upper body rather than your arms. And I was trying to figure out how best to do that the entire time I was on the ride on Saturday. So I definitely still have a long way to go. I am glad that I am taking this month to actually take training seriously and to get to know my body more on this new machine, so that when it's time for me to invest in new equipment, new gear, a new bike, that I choose the right things for myself and keep healthy on the road. All that to say, that ride on Saturday, I enjoyed that immensely. Even though I was not 100% comfortable, even though the padded bike shorts didn't completely stop my butt from hurting, I had a lot of fun. It also helped that I finally put on some music that time too. As far as nutrition goes, I ate a lot. I am still adjusting my meals to this new training plan, and it might take a little bit of time for me to actually find the right balance between my macros. Protein remains to be a priority for me, but carbs are going to be incredibly important, especially on cycling training days. So I continue to keep track of my food, but another layer I'm adding on is actually food journaling during my cycling training days, just so I'm extra aware of how my body feels and I can adjust my macros based on that. All that said, week 1 training, check. It was quite a mess, but we still finished. We're still here. We survived. And I'm looking forward to the second and third week of trainings because it's going to be very interesting. I am traveling for 2 weeks. The first week of travel, I'm going out of state to Nebraska, but the second week is going to be even more interesting because I am flying all the way to Southeast Asia to my home country of the Philippines for a week. And I plan to keep up with my training schedule for those 2 weeks.
Whoa!
It's me from the editing room again. I forgot to mention that I am also doing a quick overnight trip to New York, which makes my schedule even more chaotic, so good luck to my training plan. Again, totally insane for this, but I am committed. I am in this. So the next 2 weeks, I'm really going to pull deep from my discipline and my commitment to be able to get through training while traveling. If you're interested to see how I do that, or if I'm able to do that, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and see how I do. To make it even more fun, you can even take bets if I'm able to do it or not. So what did you guys think of my first training week? If you are an experienced cyclist and you have tips, tricks, any advice that you can give this wannabe endurance cyclist, please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. Thank you so much, guys, for spending your time with me today. I'll see you all in Nebraska and New York and then the Philippines. Happy riding.